Hello and welcome to the Herdline Podcast, hosted by Trace Johnson and the Herds Headset. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode where the Headset and Trace talk all things Marshall athletics. Be sure to follow us on X and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Now, sit back, relax, and let's talk the herd.
Welcome back to the Herdline Podcast. We are ready for Season 1, Episode 10. And we talked about the other day having a 2-episode week this week, and this is the second episode. This has been in the works for quite a while, and we're super thrilled to have our first guest on the podcast. And we are joined by Marshall, Director of Athletics, Gerald Harrison. We are thrilled to have him on here, and we're really excited to get to talk a little bit of herd with him, and it gets a little bit of the scoop here and there. We like getting that kind of stuff, so it's going to be cool to get to talk to the man that's in charge of running our athletic department. So, Gerald, how's it going, man?
Everything's great. I appreciate you guys having me. It's always awesome to share with Herd Nation. So, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. That's what I say. It's like we're just two random dudes, and we're just like talking Marshall. We bleed green, and we're just excited to have a man of your stature on here. So we're pumped to get going here.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So we'll go ahead and start with, we got a few questions lined up here, just stuff that we tried to think of. And Headset's going to ask we're just going to alternate back and forth. So he'll start with the question, and then I'll go next and so forth. We won't try to keep you too long. But but we got a lot of cool stuff on here that we're interested in seeing your perspective and stuff. So, man, you can go ahead and start it and ask your first question.
Absolutely. So first of all, Mr. Harrison, welcome to the herd. I want to say thank you really for the overall job that you have done so far. It's been very encouraging as a fan just to see some of the small changes you've already been implementing, and it's been great. But my question is, what made Marshall an attractive job for you, and how would you assess the first 6 months that you've been on the job here?
That's a great question, and I've been asked that a couple of times, but I haven't been asked to assess the first 6 months. So you're the first person. See, two guys came up with the first time I've been asked that question. So, what made Marshall an attractive job, even to start with, was I always wanted to be a part of my first FBS job as an athletic director, to be a part of an institution that had name recognition, that had a history of success in intercollegiate athletics, had a visionary leader in the president's seat. Because that's the one thing I learned. I had two presidents at Austin Peay. Both were great. Mike Licari, who's the president I had for the last 4 years, was really incredible. We had a great relationship. So it had to be a place where I could have that kind of relationship with my boss. So that was important. The community and the fan base is important. I wanted somewhere where I didn't have to build the fan base. I mean, we want to grow our fan base here, but you don't have to build it. The foundation is solid. The Herd Nation has a great foundation. We're looking for ways to expand it for the future. We always say herd now, herd forever. So we're trying to get the forever part done. And so that's a part of it. And so that's why it was a interesting job when it came open. When I talked to the search firm, I was like, okay, this is one. I've had a few opportunities to leave Austin Peay for other FBS jobs, but it didn't just have that name pop and recognition, and the leader. All the things did not come together like they came at Marshall. The first 6 months, I'll tell you, it's been interesting for sure. I will say this, and this is not an exaggeration. I'm more passionate about our opportunity to succeed now than I was even when I took the job. And this is even knowing the challenges and the things that we have, because there's a desire here under President Smith and with our board of governors, and they want to do more. They want to do better. They're trying to find a way to do it right. And when you're aligned from the board to the president to the athletics director, things happen faster, much faster than if one of those are speeding the bump, or we can't get along, or we got different opinions on how to get there. One thing I've learned over the 6 months is President Smith has allowed me to get in and really go to work. Like, there hasn't been a lot of interference or anything like that. It's been more of, how can we help each other? How can I help the university with their mission, with Marshall for All, Marshall Forever, and growing the institution, which I'm big into. 1M, as I like to say, and then he's been interested. Okay, where are we really in this landscape of intercollegiate athletics? And we work together and meet at a place to get that done. So there's been a lot of discovery. Now we are changing directions in some ways. I've made some staff changes, and those are always scary for people. And when there's new leadership to come in, but I think we have to have an athletic department that is not just for great historical athletics department, but is one that is ready for 2026 and beyond. This is not the same athletics department that my predecessors had. It's a different time, going all the way back to Lee Moon, who actually I knew because he was a part of the ASUN conference when we were in it at LSMP, or Mike Hamrick and so on. But the world's different today, and today is all about going forward. It's about making sound decisions using data and analytics, and opening your mouth and talking with people like this to hear about what's going on, talk to our coaches about how we're going to recruit, what's the right mix. And that's kind of the way we do it. So we had to adjust our staff and our sites to move to a direction of how we're going to get there, and instead of what we always did. If you ever want to upset me, start talking about, well, we always done it this way. That doesn't necessarily mean that's not best practices. That just means you're doing it because you know it. And that's if you're comfortable, you're lazy. And so we're not going to do that.
It's awesome.
Yeah, great philosophy. And that's something that really, we need around here, because, sometimes culture can get a little bit stagnant. So, yeah, absolutely. I agree 100%. And again, doing a great job so far, just from an outsider looking in, not even knowing the intricate details. And so we appreciate all that you're doing for the herd. Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. It's going to take all of us to get this thing done. And that's why I always want to talk to our base and the people who support us, from our season ticket holders to our 2,500 Big Green members. Everybody matters, because if we're going to be the next, everybody's got to be in and herding together. So.
Absolutely. All in. That's right. So my first question would be, I know we've talked about this a lot as fans, and I know it's probably high on your agenda list as well. We talked about potential facility upgrades and things like that, renovations and all that kind of stuff. So what kind of facility upgrades or renovations are you kind of looking at that you think might be realistic to do? I know we've seen some stuff done already, like the Dutch Miller deck at football was really successful last year and so forth. And I know me and a lot of guys have talked about, we would love to, and you've already started doing this. You have started showcasing Marshall's history a lot better at the venues than it probably ever has been, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. The football stadium, we've seen banners added, and the conference championship stuff and all that. And there are more plans to do more things like that. Mm-hmm. And I know one thing that I've talked about is like a Ring of Honor. I think that would be so super cool. And I don't know how any of that would work. I couldn't even begin to tell you, but do you have any plans for any stuff like that?
It's funny. Yeah, we got a lot of great plans. And when I talked about direction changing, for the last few years or so, we've been on building new. And, there's the new baseball stadium, and there's a whole bunch of plans. And we pay architects to do these plans of things we want to do. But one thing we got to be better at is taking care of our house. So my philosophy is we're going to take care of our house first before we try to build a new subdivision. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? And so we're locking in on how can we make the Zone better without necessarily building in the Zone. How can we improve fan engagement areas, like improve the Wi-Fi so people can watch their devices and do things and track it and what have you? Can we get the troughs that have been there since the stadium opened out of the men's bathroom and add more stalls for women's bathroom? There's so many things. You don't have to necessarily build new steel and have a lot of things to make a difference. And so we're working on that. Our first project I'm a big student athlete first person. And our first project was the refresh of the Buck Harless Center for our student athlete growth and development. The Buck is a great building, but it was sterile. It didn't have any life to it. And so our student athletes didn't want to be there as much because they go in, they do study hall, and they leave. Well, we get a couple of donations from some outstanding donors. And instead of rebuilding another building to be this center or hub, we turned that into the hub. So we added a sensory room for our student athletes. We added a lounge. We got our nutritionists and our mental health folks and our compliance folks all in the same place. So it is a one-time hub. We actually put the right color green in. I'm on a mission to get the right color green in all our facilities. But we did that when and we put the kids' pictures up, like our SAC leadership, something they can take pride in. We displayed our herd mentality graphics, all these things. So that building looks, people go in there and think this is wow. Change the carpet out, They're like, wow, this is a new facility. No, it's not. But we put a little TLC in it and we fixed our house. And so the stuff, whether fans really care about that part or not, but stuff we're looking at in the stadium right now, you're going to see more signage and more, that stuff we put up in the season. I heard everybody talking about it. And so I'm big on memorializing all that as well. But now the season, obviously, we got more time to plan it. So even some of that stuff will all change with murals and different banners and things like that up probably bigger. I have bad eyesight. We had some banners up I couldn't even read because they're so small on font. So we're going to brag and carry the flag for Marshall Athletics and let everybody know it in our venues. But we're also looking at if you're part of our premium areas and our suite level, our suites, some of them have been renovated, but some of them look like an old Ramada Inn. We got to get in there and get to work. And so we're going to put a plan in place that you'll probably hear about here shortly to do that and work over the next couple of years to try to fix that. I've been asked often about the south end zone. We're creating great functional plans about the south end zone. There's a lot of things that could happen. It'd probably be something done in phases, probably taking the unusable seats down so we don't have to put those tarps up and everybody wonder what's behind them or why don't we open them up. We learned a lot when we put that scoreboard up. So, one of the things we learned, we got to do something different in that end, but we can do it. My goal is to reach we got to include and reach out to our fan bases that are 35 to 54 so we can herd forever. We got to get these young families in. We got to do more of that. And that's an area that we haven't been great. We got some older folks. We got some more, younger folks. And we got this group in the middle that we got to attack and figure out how to make our venues, whether it's the Joan, the Cam, what have you, ready for that to capture those people. So look for a kid zone in both of those facilities with video games and fun stuff where you can get kid stuff, chicken nuggets instead of chicken sandwich, because that matters, and we got some really innovative ideas for that stuff, maybe an open bar in that end. There's some things we can do that is not an astronomical amount of money, but it will make a difference to the people that listen to your podcast.
Right.
How can we redo some of the parking areas? That kind of stuff. All that's in there. So we're looking at that. One of the simple things in the CAM hasn't had new basketball goals in the CAM since 1990 something. And so, one of the projects, which is an expensive project, it's a 6-figure project. But how about let's get some goals and some backups? But so that's where I talk about we were focused on new, and we got to fix the house. We got to get the infrastructure fixed that will sustain us. Instead of building new suites, we redid the sky deck in the CAM, which has already generated about $30,000 in extra revenue, and it's only been open for half the year. And there's a pilot that we're just trying out to see how it works. And I think there's only 11 seats left in there. So what are we going to do next year? So that I'm kind of probably going too long for you, but those are some of the projects that we're working on, and I want people to understand the mentality. So don't look for a new building right away. Look for the things that we're going to do inside the buildings that you cheer on the herd in right now to make your experience better. And then along the way, you'll see some other things.
I love that philosophy. I think that is a great way to look at it because, as fans, we love these buildings. We love the Joan, we love the Cam, we love these places. And over the years, we've seen them start to be taken better care of. And now it's getting even better and better and better. And that's exactly what you want. As a fan, you want to come to an inviting atmosphere and a fun place to be. And those places are fun places to be for sure.
Yeah. And, one thing you'll hear our people talk about here, I talk about all the time, is recruit ready. We got to have all our facilities recruit ready. So when you walk in the door, you always want your house perfect when you got your guests there.
Yes.
Your own personal homes. There's always area you want it cleaned up. Your mom, somebody would always make the house really straight when somebody was coming to visit.
Yeah.
But we got to take that attitude about every venue here, from the time you get out of your car until the time you get in the facility, until the time you leave. So we're really working at that part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And well, Marshall fans have been pounding the drum for a long time. We've got a nice place to play football and a nice place to watch basketball games. They're just old. They need a little bit of a facelift.
Mhm.
And because if we can get that facelift, I'm telling you, it would be a game changer. So yeah, I can't wait to see what we're going to do. It's going to look awesome. But let's move on. I've got another
Mhm.
question here for you, Mr. Harrison.
Yeah.
Uh, I've seen other programs, especially Group of Five, Group of Six, whatever you want to call us now, kind of make preparations recently and establish even positions to the extreme of I've seen conference realignment consultants. And I'm not trying to bait you into a question, are we switching conferences or nothing like that? But I guess the question is, what are some plans that you have right now that's going to help us go to that next level with NIL budget
Mhm.
and get us in a position like you have been talking about, where we are the next
Yeah.
one of those programs that makes that big step, whatever that may be and whatever it looks like.
Yeah. So there's a couple things that we can highlight. From the beginning, when I got here, we had some folks on staff that, sometimes we change things, but we change them by putting them in different positions where they can excel and they're at the most need. So one of the things we did, we had Michael Valentine was here. He oversaw equipment, and he was, he worked with oversaw football, and that's great and all. But in this day and age, I feel like you see all these programs now having general managers for football and basketball and whatever else. Well, at Marshall, we don't want to exceed it. We don't want to just succeed in two sports. We want to succeed in all of them. And so what we did was we made him the general manager for athletics. I just met with him before I got on the call with you, and we're discussing all the sports and how we're going to do recruitment and retention, how much money we need to raise. We just recently did a study on what positions cost. What's the going cost of a quarterback in the G6? What's the scoring cost of a point guard? And those numbers escalate, but that's his job. So he can help our coaches along by saying, here's what we got. And then so he monitors it. He uses our database to make sure we can fund those folks, fund them in 11. We in trouble. We need to raise some more. He tells us, working with the Big Green and working with myself. So we got somebody who's quarterbacking the department for us. Now we got people in the sport that are obviously picking the players. We would never let an administrator pick the team. I mean, if you do that, you end up like my favorite football team, the New York Giants, and trying to figure out how you're going to get back to the Super Bowl. But we got administrators doing administrative things and using data analytics and then building a consistent voice for our coaches to talk to. So that's one. We just recently announced Herd Hospitality and Entertainment, which is we have taken all of our revenue generation stuff and put into one bucket, and everybody's using data analytics that we got. We hired a person, and their one job is to study revenue generation and analytics and the trends and everything else. So we work with our other partners like Learfield and other partners that we're working with. We get all the data together, but the ticket people got that data, the marketing folks got the data, the rental spaces we're actually actively renting our facility. That's something we haven't done. The stadium has been a passive piece. We got the beautiful deck. You mentioned that. Well, the deck, the deck somebody paid is going to host a baby shower this week. We got a wedding reception coming up in the deck, because we got to come up with ways to generate revenue. The more revenue we get, the more opportunities we can compete with our competitors, because we can generate more money for recruitment and retention. And the university Brad's doing a great job growing the university. So but we got to get our numbers up as well, so we don't have to take as much money from the university side as traditional as most G6 programs. And so we're working toward that. So that's just two examples of positions that we've changed and hired that will help get us to the next level, which in the end comes back to student athletes. Why do we want more revenue? Is it because we need more desks or we need more paper? No, we want new revenue so we can get new players. Right. We get more players and retain the ones that we have. We love our kids. I would love for every player here to stay 4 years, but there's a battle. I mean, there was a young person here we had signed up. They agreed to come back, and another A4 school came in, offered them 6 times what we were paying it. That's going to happen. So I'm not worried about that as much. I'm more worried about how we're going to get how we're going to replace them. and having the resources to replace them as the market shifts.
Yeah, well, the landscape of college football, college athletics is just unbelievable. And being at Marshall, it's a challenge. We can call a spade a spade. It is what it is. Uh, so you're right. We've got to figure out some ways that are, a little bit outside of the box to just generate that little bit more so we can retain and so we can replace these guys. Because no matter what, it's going to, even in a year like 2 years ago, we saw the entire team leave. Last year, we saw in comparison, just a few.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even in a year where we see a building year and different things where most of the guys come back, you're still losing guys, and that's every program in America.
Oh no, it is. I mean, you look at this year alone compared to last year. Last year, this time we were bringing in 72 members to the herd to replace the folks that left. And out of 105, that's a significant number of people, and a lot of them, y'all know better than I do, were starters and played and were valuable members of the team. Well, this year we just announced the class, and the portal windows are closed, and it's 40. So we got 32 less people that are transitioning out. We got 40 people come in, but Tony Gibson's culture is still here, and so we don't have to start over, And I think that led to a little bit of our slower start because everybody's trying to get together. Now we got people leading the workouts that know to keep their hand behind the line or what the locker room is supposed to look like or the demands of the program. So anyway.
Absolutely. And it's just an astronomical difference between last year and this year. We're having a lot more guys come back, and I think we're going to see a lot better result because of it. So my next question would be, and I know you've kind of already touched on it, and it's as important as anything. What are some ways to improve student engagement, fan engagement, especially students? Because I feel like when I was a student at Marshall, I mean, it was pretty lively, a lot more. I think it was probably more lively, a little more consistently. I mean, you'll have games here and there, like the Joan, where the students will really turn out well, and then there's some games where it's not quite as good. And I know there's like circumstances. I know a lot of times they go home on breaks and stuff like that. But what is just an overall scheme of things? What are some ways that you see that you could improve that?
Well, talking about the students specifically, what you're talking about is a challenge everywhere. I want to say that. I spent 10 years at Duke University, and everybody loves the Cameron Crazies. Yeah. But I'll tell you, if they played a Tuesday game, one of those Tuesday night ESPN games, those Duke kids were studying. So we had to fill those are regular fans on the outside, and the students were kind of pushed to the middle. Now, it was great for revenue, but it was bad. It was bad for the students thing. So if Duke basketball got to deal with it, everybody else has got to deal with it.
Right.
Now, our philosophy is we're listening. What we're doing, and it sounds like an oversimplification, and people like yawn listening. But the problem is a lot of times in our field, people listen, but they don't act on what they're listening to, or they think they know better. I'm an SEC guy. I went to Tennessee, worked in Tennessee, so everything I saw at Neyland Stadium always had a bunch of students in it. But that was the culture of that time, the late 90s, early 2000. That's just what you did. It wasn't too long ago that Nick Saban was fussing at the Alabama students for not showing up for games, and they were winning national championships. So I don't say, a lot of people will say it's the product on the field. It's not. It's really not. No. It's you have to convince students, and the same thing with this young generation block that I'm talking about. You have to convince them that it's not a game, it's an event.
Right.
And what we're trying to do is put the best show on in the Sun Belt. So if you're in the tri-state, if you're a student and you got a chance to go home or go back to Beckley or wherever you're from, you know what? I don't want to go see mama this weekend. I don't want to go hang out with my friends from high school who may still be there. I want to stay and go to the party. And this is not a traditional party of like, hey, I'm going to Cliffs Max Play, but it's what's going on in the Joan, is what's going on in the camp. And so what turns out though is one of my biggest challenges, because we have a seasoned fan base and we have a younger fan base that we're trying to grow. So I get so many letters about the music in the stadium, but I need the students and the younger folks. They want to hear something. I can't play everything from John Denver or some other country song in every minute, because I got to get this other folks who want to hear a little bit of hip hop, or they want to hear pop or whatever they want to hear. So we got to do it all. Yeah. And so the challenge for us is figuring out how we can make all of this work, and make it all go together. But we got to have great Wi-Fi. We know that. You got
Yes.
to have great concessions and beverages available. They're going to drink beer. Don't be scared of that. I'm sorry, all the preachers out there, those kids are going to drink beer. They want beer. And that's going to be, and when every time I go to the student section, I don't know if y'all, like I try to go by there once during the home, every home game and try to kind of go around down and see everything over there. They have a good time, but we got to keep the party going. Next year, I told them I'm looking for a foam machine and we can get some snow out of it. We're going to make it work because the great ones turn it into an event and a party. That's the only chance we have. They know the game's open. They know they go free. That's a little bit of a challenge too. The difference between the Big Ten and us is we don't charge, like the Big Ten, they make students buy season tickets.
Oh.
So if you put money on it, your parents pay for your tickets. You try to go home and be like, nah, we paid for you to go to this game, so you need to stay at the game. When you don't have to necessarily pay, like a thing for a ticket. Sometimes I think the value is not necessarily there. That's why I don't do too many ticket give outs. Because if people don't have value, they can throw it in the trash. They don't feel bad because they didn't lose anything. But even if you put $1 value on it, $5, they feel like, oh, that's a big $5 for me. I'm gonna go enjoy myself in the stadium. So, we're working. Those are some things. It's really just doing a big listening tour, finding out what they want, how to do it, And so we did an auxiliary speaker system. People don't know we changed in the middle of the season. So we had a speaker system where the PA guy was coming in, but we can't hear the band, and we don't want to hear all the hippity hop hop music y'all young folk want to hear today.
Yeah.
So we actually paid for it an auxiliary speaker system that was just pointed at the students and that mic'd the band for the entire stadium. It was more money, but it pleased more people. We got less complaints on the other side. So we'll do that again this year.
That's awesome. I mean, you never know. I mean, everybody's got different tastes. Everybody likes what they like. And yeah, I mean, that's awesome. That's a way that is a great way to do it, to try to, and I noticed definitely over the last year or so that the Joan has really become a lot more fun during during downtime when the games aren't going on, or the action's not going on. And that's something I've definitely noticed. The fans have really been into different things, and that's really cool. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, basketball is a great example. We've started playing more games in basketball and bringing people out. Yeah. And I never knew how popular tic-tac-toe was, finding an inflatable beer mug. People love that stuff.
Yeah.
And so because it gives you something else to do, is entertainment. And that's what we're in. We're in the entertainment business as well as educating student athletes.
Yeah. And listen, I appreciate the transparency. I've never heard anybody from the athletic department just straight up say it and explain it that way. That's just it's easier for me as a fan to understand. Like before we've been in the dark and we've had all these complaints and different things, but man, once fans are able to actually hear, well, here's the reason why, that helps us. We're behind you. We're behind everybody. Now that we just have a better idea of, okay, this is why these things are happening. So thank you for that. My final question I've got for you is this. I love the move that you just recently announced for the football schedule, adding Toledo to some future games, 4-game series overall. I love it. So kind of tell us a little bit about your personal scheduling philosophy. Can we more old rivalry games like Toledo and, just to name a couple? Of course, we've got Ohio on our schedule already, but then you got other teams that we just recently played with Eastern Kentucky, Eastern Carolina, sorry, and Western Kentucky and all those other schools that we have history with. So kind of tell us a little bit about your philosophy. Can we expect to see some of those old school games return that's going to generate some excitement?
Yeah, I think you can. I always want to try to find those regional rivalries that mean a lot to the school. I think the biggest challenge right now we're all having is the market. This is one of those transparency things. The market has changed. Yeah. And so we used to be able to play one guaranteed game, make 1.6, 1.7, 1.8. We've been fortunate that way, and use that money to generate revenue, to do whatever, whether it's to fund sports that are non-revenue, whether it's to put now into revenue sharing and other things. Well, what's happened is now that the A4 has gone to 9 conference games, some of them have 9 conference games plus 1. So that's 10 games off that are accommodated. So there's only 2 games left. And so now it's a competitive market because there's a lot of G6 schools trying to get these 2 games. And so the value has gone down. So that's driven the price down. I had some people ask me, or think I'm crazy because the number guaranteed for Alabama was less than the number for Penn State in the Alabama games in the future. Well, it happened because Alabama only has to field 2 games. They don't really, if we don't take it, if we don't take it, they'll find somebody else for a lesser number, and they're going to take it. And so I'm trying to maximize what we can get from the market. Now that's just the guarantee game part. So the reason I started with that, our goal is to play one of those a year. I would love to say we generate enough revenue not to. I know people always say, we gonna put ourselves out there. Well, one, Marshall made a name for itself by playing those games.
Right.
Marshall's gone out and beat Virginia Tech and Kansas State and obviously most recently Notre Dame and beyond. And I was at Tennessee when they almost got us in Knoxville. I think the quarterback at the time celebrated and tore up his knee or something. Yep. I don't know. We were going to need a little Rocky Top magic to win that game if he doesn't get hurt. So so stop complaining about those games, because unless we want to increase ticket prices to really unreasonable, we got to have one of those 7-figure games in the budget. Now, after that, the second priority is we got to have 6 home games, a minimum of 6 home games. So we got to look at our schedule and see how we're going to get that done. So that goes home and away. And sometimes schools, hey, I'll play you, but I want to play home first, away first. So we got to figure that out. The third part of it is, okay, you look at that, who is available and what's their style? Okay. I don't ever really want to play a triple option team. That's not healthy for us. Right. Now that you only have 105 student athletes, and of that 105, 15 of them are defensive linemen. So you start playing people who's doing all this chop blocking and all this other stuff. Like at Duke, we always played Army and Navy, and Tennessee, we played Air Force. That's just not smart in the long run, because you got a whole season to go. So you can take those off of my list. All right. Then we look at the rivalries. That's why we got Toledo, and that's why Ohio's there. We're looking in conversations with one of the other schools that you named. And so we're working on stuff. Hopefully we have something to say in a couple of weeks on that, but we're working on those type of games because I want to give us the best opportunity to field a Joan as well. Mm-hmm. And then the last part of it is a drive for 6. Coach Cutcliffe used to tell me all the time, you got to light, the number one goal is to light the Christmas tree. Because if we let's say we play Toledo, ECU, all these people, and we win those games, but yet and still we finish 5-7, y'all not going to be talking about how great it was that we played Western Kentucky or this one and that one. You're going to be like, why can't we win 6? Yeah. And I know that seems like a base, but that's goal 1. You start the season wanting to be bowl eligible. So I'm always going to try to find a game that is, one that we feel like we can, we'll go on the field and we'll have a better team then. And we still got to win the game because we know we're Marshall. We know people get upset, and we still got to win the game. And so that's kind of the philosophy around it. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, well, like I said, I agree with you. Some people, a lot of the dream games, they may be a little sad, no Army or Navy or anything like that. But I understand. You got to be careful. Yeah, you got to be careful playing.
No, and I get those, but I think I want people to think about it also as from a coach's philosophy, because if you play those games with a different style we don't see. Think about right now in college football. Everybody's in the spread. Yep. Everybody's running some version of a shotgun or whatever. So if you come in and you all of a sudden decide you're going to play somebody who's all between the boxes and they chop it and everything else, that's tough. That's tough on your team and tough on you long term, because we got to play all our non-conference games relatively early.
Right. That's definitely tough. And that's just their styles is way different than we're used to seeing. And yeah, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
But my last question before, I think we both kind of had like a kind of a fun, kind of little silly question to end it. But my last real question is, what are some ways to kind of better market Marshall, try to sell it nationally? I know Marshall's got a nice brand name around the country. I mean, people know who Marshall is for a number of different reasons. So what are some ways to kind of build on that and take that to the next level?
Well, I love the way you said it, because we do have a great foundation. And the way we got to build on it is, 1, you got to be successful.
Yeah.
2, as an athletic department, we have to play and put ourselves on a national level and think of ourselves that way. You can be trapped and want to be a regional institution or a regional thing. That's great from a college standpoint, but from an athletics department standpoint, we got to decide that we're going to go outside the borders of the tri-state, and we got to really say, we're not letting anybody say we can't. So that's us going in Ohio more. If that's us going deeper into Pennsylvania, if that's us doing some things, we're going to do more things and expand our range by our scheduling. We're going to expand our range by getting our staff. People don't understand this. Our staff needs to be involved on NCAA and Sunbelt committees. You got to have a voice in the room. And so the more people that in Indianapolis that has committees that have a Marshall presence, that's a national thing for us. And so people start paying attention to what we're doing. It's like the leadership circle that we just did for women's athletics. I've gotten 3 calls from Power 4 ADs wanting to ask, how are we doing that and what exactly did we think about? I've gotten a call from a couple reporters that are outside of our borders wanting to talk about that in this era of Title IX and everything else. So that's exciting. But we have to stop thinking about 3rd Street and 5th Avenue. Like, we got to move past that. We got to stop thinking about, I love the places around here, but we got to put our people in places where they can be recognized nationally, because we got a lot of good works being done. We just keep it. We're the best kept secret. And I'm tired of being a secret. Our staff, there's a national ADs convention every year that I used to take my staff to at Austin Peay. Tennessee we went, Duke we went. I try to figure out I say, all right, guys, who wants to go to NACDA this year? They're like, we never been. And I said, what? But that's where all the national marketing awards are. That's how you learn. That's how you go see other people doing their things. And then we learn different ways to become national. And they never been. But this year, dang it, we're going. And we're going to load the wagon because we got to learn professional development. The H in herd mentality is honor the journey. It's about personal and professional development. We got to start there. The more we do that, the more visible we are, the more the Kelly Green is visible, the better we'll be nationally in all aspects.
I love it. And you're right. I mean, the more Kelly Green out there, the better. I mean, and this is one thing I know I try to do, and I'm sure a lot of Herd fans do this. Whenever I'm out of town, wherever I'm out of state, wherever I'm whatever, I'm wearing Marshall pretty much every single day because I want to show off. If one person comes up to me and says, oh, go Herd. Oh, who's that? If one person comes up to me, then it's worth it. Because
Tracy, I'm going to tell you this. It's funny you said that. I have a hard rule, and my family knows this. Anytime we travel in Marshall gear.
Yeah.
If we're at the airport, that is a rule in our house, and I'm pushing it on our athletics department because it's only if we don't promote ourselves, I can't be mad that nobody else wants to.
Mm-hmm.
Or nobody else gives us the credit. So it's pretty much an athletic department rule. If you get on a plane or a bus or a train, you need to have something with Marshall on them. And so I live that way.
Me too. I'm right there with you.
All right. We got some fun stuff now. We got another question. Where are we going?
We had a fun question. I think each of us had one. If you had said you want to go ahead and ask him, you go ahead. And I got one less. I'm going to save it. I know I don't. You might not even be able to answer it. I'm going to ask it anyways. But
all right, that's fine.
Yeah. So my fun question is this. All right. So you've been here for a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
We got a couple decent little spots to eat around a town and different things. And so, tell me, what is your favorite place that you have been at, and if you can answer, what's the best dish that you had at that place?
Ooh. Okay. So I'm gonna give you 2 spots because I think I can give you 2 because one's technically not in Huntington, so I feel like I can give you 2. One, I love 21. I love going to 21, and I'll sit there. And the burger is my favorite burger in town. You get the bacon put on top of it. Mark and Izzy Cross, they do a great job. They always take care of me there. So I like 21. I'm in a temporary housing situation downtown, and it's literally 2 blocks from where I'm staying. So before my wife and my daughter didn't get here until the turn right around Christmas. And so I ate a lot of meals by myself. So I became very familiar with the bar at 21, where I get my burger, sit in the corner, and watch whatever game is on. So that I know that spot. The other one is Rocco's. I love going to Rocco's, and my favorite dish there is the they had it on special the last couple of times I've been there. So I wonder if it's really a special, but they really on the menu. Maybe Rocco just don't want to tell us. But the it is, they take I take the spicy rigatoni, and they put a fillet, 8-ounce fillet on top of it with lump crab meat on top of that. And I get the spicy vodka sauce or whatever it is.
Ooh.
My goodness. I tell people all the time, I didn't get this big on accident. It took practice. That thing is great. I hope y'all didn't think I was going to say my favorite thing is a salad somewhere. I mean, I like salad. That ain't the favorite thing. So those would be the two if I had to give you two. And I don't know if any of those are sponsors, so the Learfield people are probably going to fight me for that.
Man, good options, and I'm gonna have to go to Rocco's and try that. I never had that before.
I'm telling you, the last 2 times I went, I just went last Sunday and last Saturday. Oh, if you follow me on Instagram, after we win any game, I'll do on my story, I'll put the win graphic or whatever, and I'll say, Siri, play that song, and it would be Thunderstruck, right? Because and I do it for every time religiously. When I left out of Rocco's after eating that steak the first time, I said, Siri, play Thunderstruck. It hurt just one with that meal.
That's hilarious. Hey, that's good choices right there. Yep. So my silly question would be, and I don't know if you're much of a pro wrestling guy. I don't know if you're much of a WWE guy or not.
It's been a while. That was more growing up in South Carolina. That was a thing, but that was back Hogan and Junkyard Dog and all those people. I would not say I would be really recent into it, but go for it. I may know.
That's all right. That's all right. It could be past. So if you had to call yourself one professional wrestler of all time, who would you be?
So it's my first answer is Ric Flair, because I like the limousine riding, jet flying son of a guy. I'm having a hard time keeping these alligators down, but anybody knows me, I'm way too country and not nearly flashy enough probably to be Ric Flair. So is it, you have to help me with the guy's name. Maybe I want to say it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. Is it the one that goes, I had a beer and I had another beer?
Yes.
He's like, what? And everybody's like, what? That's more my style. I watched one game, then I watched another game. That's kind of right. That's kind of my life right there. That's probably closer to me.
That's awesome. That's a great choice. Can't get much better than that for sure. But we love it. But well, we really appreciate the time. Hopefully we didn't keep you too long. We really appreciate you coming on here. It was an awesome conversation, and I know we're just tickled to death to have you on. And it was fun. I mean, maybe another time we can get you back on here and talk some more. Who knows?
Absolutely. But anytime you need, and I'll tell you both this, if there's any questions that you have, sometimes I can't answer them all, right? In a podcast form, but then you need background, something, give Grant a call. Let's talk about it, because you guys have a window and a voice, and I wish you the best of luck with your show. And like I said, I always want to get the truth out and the answers out as best possible. So we're always here for you.
That's awesome. We really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing what else is going to go down for the herd in 2026 and beyond. We're so thrilled of what you've already done so far. And then, we're not even just saying that because you're on here. We talk all the time. We're like, we love what has been going on over the last 6 months since you've been here, and it does not go unnoticed. Well, so we appreciate it greatly. But on that note, that has concluded episode 10 here of the Herdline Podcast Season 1. We really thank you again for coming on, and we look forward to hopefully running into you at some games. Who knows? We might find you at the Joan and the Cam. We might get to you at some point.
It's the Herder in action. I'll be around there somewhere. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Go Herd.